The stress-related effects of work are one of the most costly problems for many organizations. Did you know that in Japan, companies may be required to compensate the families of workers who die of stress? Current estimates in the United States of the cost of stress in the workplace range from $200 billion to about $300 billion annually. These costs include absenteeism, diminished productivity, employee turnover, accidents, direct medical, legal, and insurance fees. It makes good business sense to manage stress at work and reduce those costs as much as possible. When stress management became a concern several years ago, many organizations decided that their goal would be to create a stress-free workplace. Not only is this unrealistic, it is undesirable. Without some stress, there can be no performance. Now, let's review the definitions of stress and stressors and so forth. Stress usually is perceived as something undesirable, but the general definition of the term pertains to the response of people to the demands placed on them. This includes many of the normal pressures most people experience at work. For example, a person's preparation for work could be measured as more stressful than resting in bed, but preparation for work usually is considered necessary and beneficial. However, if an employee raced frantically to get ready for work every morning, this usually would be considered too much stress. Moving on to stress and productivity. There are many different types of stress, and organizational and performance variables may lead to other relationships between stress and productivity. Fortunately, most jobs do not involve the extreme emergency situations typical of the jobs of paramedics and police officers, but psychological and emotional stressors that build up slowly may lead to the same consequences. In some ways, the jobs of paramedics and police officers may be better in terms of stress because there is an awareness of the need to deal with the high stress levels. When stress is viewed as the adaptation people make to change in the environment, even positive events such as a vacation and winning the lottery become stressors. A person's reaction to winning the lottery, the increased heart rate, sweating, and a stomach tied in knots sounds physically much like the reaction people would have when rushing to work to avoid being late. The kind of stress that results from positive events is called eustress, to distinguish it from negative stress called distress, such as that caused by losing a job or being late for work. Too much stress, either good or bad, can lead to undesirable consequences for the individual and the organization. When stress is too high for too long, there are outcomes for the individual and the organization. The organizational outcomes may seem the most direct important to the company, but hidden costs of the personal outcomes may exceed the direct costs. In my next few lectures, I will go more in depth in regards to stress and some physical and mental ailments as a result. But moving on to stress management at work. Stress management programs at work may employ individuals or organizational methods. Stress management programs include stress intervention programs, developing greater employee participation, establishing an employee stress reduction committee to provide suggestions to management using flexible work schedules, and redesigning work. Individually focused stress management programs are varied, but are part of employee wellness programs administered by the Employee Assistance Program, which is called the EAP. Now, an employee assistance program offers professional counseling to employees to prevent and treat problems at work. The programs are administered by employees within the organization itself or are contracted to outside consultants. So it can either be internal or external. But in general, employee assistance programs do not try to change organizational contributors to stress in the workplace, but rather attempt to make employees better able to cope with work stress. Now, moving right along to methods of stress management. The best methods of stress management depend on both the individual and the organization. Some of the most common individual methods are exercise, meditation, relaxation techniques, cognitive approaches, time management, and goal setting. Cognitive approaches to stress management emphasize changing the way an employee evaluates stress. Time management methods may focus on finding better ways to use the time that is available for taking control of time rather than letting it control the employee. Goal setting can be used to get an employee to set and achieve realistic goals and have a feeling of personal accomplishment. Stress management is an important aspect of creating a healthy environment at work, but that is only one part. In my next lectures, we will learn all about group processes and working in teams, and also how to become a more effective leader.